Today, we're going to dive into a connection that might sound a little surprising. The one between doing good and, believe it or not, feeling angry. We're going to explore what's called the Zen of giving and how to get past the ego that can get all tangled up in our fight for what's right.
All right, so let's just jump right in with a question that honestly feels totally backwards. Why on earth would doing good deeds sometimes make us angry? You'd think, helping people, fighting for a cause you believe in, that should feel great, right? But it's not always that simple. So here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with something called the activist's paradox, and then we'll diagnose the root of the problem with the ego of justice. We'll see how this mindset can actually, weirdly, create its own opposition. And then we'll get to the good stuff, the solution, a concept called the 3 wheels of giving, and what it means to give like the sun. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see how this leads to a kind of goodness that sets you free.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about a character that, well, we all know this person. Maybe we are this person. The idealist, the activist. Someone who is just deeply driven by a sense of justice. I mean, these are the folks who really dedicate themselves, right? They fight for the voiceless, they pour their heart and soul, their time, their money into trying to make the world a better place. And their intentions are absolutely 100% noble. But here's the thing. The reality they face is often a brick wall. Their best efforts get met with resistance, or people misunderstand them, or sometimes they're just met with total indifference. Things just don't go the way they're supposed to. And this is where the paradox really hits. All of that frustration, all that anger from these big public battles, it doesn't just disappear. To keep up that image of being the good guy in public, they often just swallow it. They bottle it up. And where does it finally come out? At home. It spills onto the people they love the most. The person who's a saint out in the world can become, well, kind of harsh and impossible to be around in private. So, what's really happening under the surface here? This takes us from the symptom, the anger, to the root cause, what the source material calls the ego of justice. See, the problem isn't the good deed itself. Not at all. It's this concept, 我相. It's a term that basically means an ego attachment to your own self-image. It's that deep, often subconscious need to cling to the identity of being the good guy, the one who's right. And this really gets to the heart of it. This is like the hidden script that's running in the background of our minds. This ego attachment creates this incredibly powerful, unspoken rule. I'm doing the right thing, so people should agree with me. They should support me. And the moment reality doesn't follow that should, that's when the frustration and anger just ignite. But it gets even trickier than that. This attachment to being good doesn't just cause personal frustration. It can actually create the very conflict we're trying to solve in the first place.
There's this fascinating saying for this. Where there is a Buddha image, there will be a demon image. Now, hold on, this isn't about literal Buddhas and demons. It's a psychological insight. What it means is, the moment you create a really rigid idea of good and you cling to it, you automatically, by definition, create its opposite in your mind.
And here's how that plays out. It's pretty simple, actually. By holding on so tightly to the identity of the righteous one, you can't help but see anyone who disagrees with you as the unjust or the ignorant. You've basically just created an opponent in your own mind. And now the battle isn't just out there in the world, it's a war going on inside of you, fueled by your own need to be right. Okay, so if that's the problem, how do we fix it? Well, this is where things get really interesting. The source material brings in this powerful idea to get us out of that trap, the 3 wheels of giving. So the 3 wheels, it's pretty straightforward. It's just the 3 core parts of any act of giving. You've got the giver, that's you. You've got the receiver, the person or cause being helped, and you have the act of giving itself. As long as you're super conscious of these 3 things, I am helping them with this. Well, the ego is still firmly in the driver's seat. So the key here is this idea of emptiness. Now, when we say empty, it's easy to misunderstand. It doesn't mean the act is hollow or pointless. Far from it. Think of it more like being free of baggage. There's no sense of, wow, look at me, the amazing helper. There's no expectation of, okay, they owe me now. And there's no attachment to the thought, I have accomplished something great. You're just doing what needs to be done. Simple as that. I know, that can sound a little out there. So let's bring it back down to earth with a really beautiful metaphor from the text to make this crystal clear. The idea of giving like the sun. I mean, just think about it for a second. The sun doesn't shine on the earth and think, hey, look at me doing this great thing. The earth had better be grateful. No, it just shines. That's what it does. A river flows and nourishes everything in its path. It doesn't send out invoices or demand thank you notes. That's the state of giving we're aiming for. It's natural, it's unconditional, and it's completely free of self-consciousness.
So, where does all this lead? What's the payoff for shifting our mindset like this? It's a pretty profound idea. We end up with a kind of goodness that sets you free.
And here it is, plain and simple. The two paths laid out right next to each other. On one side, you have giving with ego. And no matter how good your intentions are, it almost always leads to frustration, anger, and eventually total burnout. But on the other side, you have this empty giving, giving like the sun. And that path leads to softness, to resilience, and to a real deep sense of inner freedom.
And that's really the core takeaway here. If your quest for justice is making you harder, more rigid, more brittle, and more angry, you might be caught in the ego's trap. The source suggests that real, true goodness does the exact opposite. It doesn't build up walls around your heart, it actually makes it softer. And that leaves us with one last question, a big one to chew on. We always think the point of doing good is to change the world. But what if the real purpose of doing good is to become free? Free from our own ego, free from our own anger, and free from our own expectations. Now, that's something to think about.